Good day. Today we're going to be looking at another exciting topic on disease prevention part 2. In the first one we talked about, we looked at waterborne diseases and so on. We talked about cholera, we talked about dysentery, diarrhea and typhoid. We also looked at how to take care of, treat your water. We talked about aeration, coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, and disinfection. And we said these are actually the step-by-step processes that helps you to treat your water. Today we're going to be looking at immunization. Immunization. It's going to be an exciting one. These are some of the subtopics we're going to be talking about. We're going to look at meaning of immunization. We're also going to be talking about how the human body defends itself against infection. We're also going to be looking at types of antibodies. We have different types of antibodies. We're also going to be talking about some causes of diseases. And finally, we're going to be looking at immunity through immunization. How the body can get immune, or how can the body be immune through immunization. Now, let's begin with the definition for immunization. Now, I'd like you to understand that immunization can also be called vaccination. It is actually the same definition. So what exactly is immunization? Immunization is actually the process of introducing vaccines. Now, vaccines are actually prepared strands of microorganisms which are harmless actually, but when they are injected into the body, it makes the white blood cells secretes what we call antibodies. We're going to be talking about that much later. But I want you to understand that immunization is actually the process of introducing vaccines into the body. Now, the purpose for introducing vaccines into the body is to protect the body from certain deadly diseases and infections. Certain deadly diseases and infections. That is the purpose for immunization or vaccination. Now, what is immunity? Now, immunity is when a person produces antibodies that fights and protects the body against illnesses or against diseases or infection. Now, there are several ways through which your body can maintain or remain immune or maintain immunity. And that is based on the production of antibodies. And one of these ways we can do that is by vaccinating a particular person. So vaccination or immunization is actually a way of keeping the body immune. Okay, immune. Now, how does the body defend against infection? Now, there are two important ways we're going to see how the body defends against infection. Now, the part of the cell that is actually responsible for defense is the white blood cells. The white blood cells is one of the parts of the part of the blood cells, okay? And the white blood cells carry out defense of the body in two ways. One, it's by engulfing. Now, if you look at the structure of the white blood cells, it is amoeboid in shape. It means it also has pseudopodia. It also means that whatever function that amoeba exhibits, it can also exhibit. Now, if you check the feeding nature of the amoeba, you will discover that the feeding process of the amoeba is called engulfing. Okay, so when the amoeba comes across a food particle, what it does is that it releases its pseudopodia around it as if it wants to embrace it, as you can see in the screen, as if it wants to embrace it. And in so doing, it engulfs it, it takes it in, and then secretes a food vacuole that helps to produce enzymes, digestive enzymes, that will digest that particular food vacuole. In the same manner is how the white blood cell carries out, or that's how the white blood cell defends the body against infection or microorganism. Now, we call that process phagocytosis. We call it phagocytosis. Now, so white blood cells that carry out those that fights against harmful microorganisms through engulfing it, they are called phagocytes. Please don't forget this name. They are called phagocytes. And that process of engulfing harmful microorganisms, mostly bacteria, is called phagocytosis. Phagocytosis. The second way the white blood cells fight against harmful microorganisms, mostly bacteria, is by producing what we call antibodies. Producing what we call antibodies. And these antibodies, they help to fight against harmful microorganisms. They destroy them and their products, because the products of these harmful microorganisms also bring about infection. They are so toxic to the body. Now, what are the types of antibodies? Now, basically, we have about 4 different types of antibodies. The first one is what we call the lysine. Lysine. Now, lysines dissolve how do they destroy microorganisms? Remember, we talked about 2 ways through which the white blood cells destroys microorganisms. One is by engulfing. Number 2 is by producing antibodies. And these antibodies can destroy microorganisms and their products or their toxins. Now, what are the types of antibodies and how do they carry out defense? Now, number 1, like I said, is lysine. Now, how does lysine carry out defense? Is that the lysine destroys harmful microorganisms by dissolving the outer coat of this bacteria. It dissolves the outer coat of this bacteria, causing the bacteria to die in the process. So this is one of the ways antibodies carry out defense of the body from microorganisms. Number 2 type of antibody is what we call the antitoxins. Now, the antitoxins, as the name implies, they destroy the products. Remember, I told you that the products of these microorganisms are harmful. They are toxic. So the antibodies, another type of antibodies is called the antitoxins. Now, the antitoxins neutralizes the toxins or poisons that are being produced by these microorganisms in the body. So it helps to neutralize them so that they don't have any effect in the body. So that is the second type of antibody, and it is called toxin. The third one is called agglutinin. Agglutinin. Now, what is the function of agglutinin, or how does agglutinin carry out body defense? One of the ways is that it causes harmful microorganisms in the body to clump or stick together, and thereby reducing their ability to attack the body. So when they are clumped together, they don't have that ability or potency enough to affect the body system. So that is also another type of antibodies that help to defend the body against microorganisms, harmful microorganisms. And the last one is called the precipitins. Now, the precipitins, they cause soluble products of disease-causing microorganisms to become insoluble. Soluble products of disease-causing microorganisms to become insoluble, so that the white blood cells which swallow particles or microorganism can swallow them. That is the phagocytes, okay? So the phagocytes can actually act on those microorganisms. So these are some of the ways, or these are some of the types of antibodies and the ways they actually help to defend the body. Now, some causes of diseases. Diseases are actually caused by several factors. One of the factors is food deficiency. Another way we can call it malnutrition, food deficiency. Examples of such food deficiency or diseases include kwashiorkor. Now, kwashiorkor and marasmus are actually due to lack of proteins. Lack of proteins. We also have bleeding gums, night blindness, scurvy, pellagra, and so on. They are due to lack of vitamins. For instance, we have the night blindness, which is due to lack of vitamin A. And then we also have the goiter. The goiter is also another example of a food deficiency disease, and is caused by lack of iodine. Goiter, lack of iodine. We also have the hemophilia, which is lack of vitamin K. We have the scurvy. We have the sterility. We have rickets. We have beriberi, and so on. All these are lacks of food, or these are food deficiency diseases. Number 2, we have microorganism diseases. These are diseases that are caused by microorganisms. We have examples like malaria, which is caused by microorganism which is called Plasmodium, and it is transmitted by the female Anopheles mosquito, which is the vector. We also have tuberculosis, which is also caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. We also have the leprosy. We have sleeping sickness caused by tsetse-fly. We have polio. We have cholera transmitted by housefly, and so on. All these are actually diseases that are caused by microorganisms. We also have diseases that are caused by heredity. Now, example of some of those diseases includes diabetes. Diabetes can be transmitted by heredity. Arthritis. We also have sickle cell anemia. We have hemophilia. We also have color blindness. We have blood pressure, high blood pressure, hypertension. All these are some of the diseases that can be transmitted through heredity. Okay, they can be transmitted through heredity. Even asthma can also be transmitted through heredity. Also, there are some diseases that can be caused by smoking, which means indulging in harmful habits, okay, which includes smoking and excessive drinking of alcohol. It can cause both heart and respiratory diseases. For instance, excessive drinking of alcohol can cause cirrhosis of the liver, okay, while smoking can also cause respiratory cancer and so on. So these are some of the diseases that can be caused by some factors. And then lastly, we also have drug abuse. Drug abuse. One of the disease it can cause is mental and physiological illnesses. Now, when we're talking about physiological, we're talking about behavioral illness, which can be caused by some of the conditions, or some of these include things like depression. You have insanity to an extent. You have violence, and so on. These are some of the mental illnesses that are found when someone is engaged in drug abuse. Now, also we have diseases that can be caused by stress and inadequate rest. Stress and inadequate rest can also cause what we call the high blood pressure, where the blood pressure is shooting beyond normal, okay? And then quickly, let's look at immunity through immunization. Immunity through immunization. Now, immunization, take note of this, protects a person from diseases by actually introducing a vaccine into the body that triggers an antibody response, as if that person had been exposed to a disease naturally. So what we're just trying to say is how immunization works. So what they do is they introduce a vaccine into the body. The body recognizes this vaccine as a threat and then releases antibodies in response to the vaccines that have entered into the body. And these antibodies can stay for some time, so they can stay for some years, protecting the body against these harmful microorganisms. Now, vaccines work because they trick your body so that it thinks it's been attacked by a disease. Now, not all vaccines provide lifelong immunity, not all. Now, diseases such as tetanus require booster doses every 10 years for adults to maintain immunity. Not all. So some of them needs to be topped up from time to time. Now, immunization in adults. There are several I want you to understand, because most times when people hear the word immunization, the first thing that crosses their mind is that it is just for children. Now, immunization is not for children alone. Adults are immunized in health centers and also in hospitals against several diseases. There are diseases adults can be immunized against. It includes cholera. We also have tetanus. We have yellow fever. We have smallpox. We also have polio. These diseases can be immunized by an adult, okay? Can be immunized against by an adult. Now, the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, with the support from various organizations like the United Nations Children's Fund, that's UNICEF, and the World Bank, has targeted some major diseases in developing countries in order to drastically reduce it. Now, over 80% of children in developed countries or developing countries now receive vaccination against these diseases. Now, for example, in Nigeria, the diseases prioritized for inclusion in the National Program on Immunization are, we have diseases like poliomyelitis, we have the tuberculosis, we have diphtheria, we also have the tetanus, we have measles, yellow fever, and hepatitis. These are some of the diseases that have been termed priority in terms of immunization. Now, quickly before we call it a wrap-up on this particular class, let's look at a schedule for immunization. Now, there are several types of immunizations. One of them is the BCG. Now, the BCG is actually used to prevent tuberculosis. It is used to prevent tuberculosis. Now, it is mostly given to children at birth. It is given to children at birth. Another type of vaccine, or yes, let's call them vaccine. Another type of vaccine is the oral polio vaccine, the OPV. Now, it is given to children at the age of 0, 6, 10, and 14 weeks old. Okay, 0, 6, 10, and 14 weeks old. Number 3, we have diphtheria. Diphtheria also is another vaccine that is being administered to children of 0, 6, 10, 14 weeks, just the same way. And we also have the pertussis. It is also given to children from the range 0, 6, 10, and 14 weeks. We also have the tetanus vaccine. The tetanus vaccine is given to children of the ages of 0, 6, 10, and 14 weeks. And we also have the hepatitis B. The hepatitis B is also another vaccine that is actually given to children at the ages of 14 weeks, between 6 and 14 weeks old, and also given to those of 6 months, those that are 6 months old. We also have the measles vaccine. It is also given to children that are at the age of 9 months. And then finally, we have the yellow fever, which is given to children at the age of 9 months. Okay? So this is where we're going to call it a wrap-up on this particular topic. I have just one question for us to answer in the ExamGuide app. They said the ability of the body to produce antibodies that combat toxins from germs is called what? The correct answer is called immunity. Remember, we said that immunity is when the body produces antibodies that helps to fight against diseases and their products, fight against diseases and their products. And that term is called immunity. So this is where we're going to call it a wrap-up on this particular topic. I'm going to see you in our next video. Bye for now.